Ich möchte jetzt Hans Campman nach vorne rufen. Ich brauche ihn, glaube ich, jetzt nicht mal groß vorstellen. Hans ist sehr bekannt hier, er ist unser Nationalleiter von Holland und hat auch dieses wunderschöne Lied oder diese Kantate Glorious Day geschrieben. Und darüber gibt es noch einiges über die Kultur und über die Musik in unserer Bewegung zu sprechen. Und darüber wird er auch Testimony geben. Und die Kazuha wird ihn dazu ein bisschen unterstützen. Vielleicht wird sie auch noch was sagen, weiß ich noch nicht. Mal gucken. Okay, ich bitte einen Applaus für Hans.
Dankeschön allerseits. In Englisch, ne? Mir war eigentlich zumute, auf Deutsch euch anzusprechen heute. Aber jetzt ist Europa ist Nummer 1. Ne? Wir müssen an Europa denken. Es wird aufgenommen und auch anderswo wird es ausgestrahlt. So I speak in English to you. Which means I have to change my mindset. I was putting my words into German now, and I have to put them back into English. Anyway, you saw the result. You've seen we were standing there in front of True Mother, and we sang our song. So, what a great moment that was. And of course we were curious. What is True Mother's response to this? And I don't know what she said literally, but the report we got from Jack Corley afterwards was True Mother was impressed by the performance. I don't know what words Mother has used, but True Mother was impressed by the performance. And originally it was supposed to be a competition, but I think that idea has been dropped, and we won prize because we were invited to the Heaven G Burger. So we got prize. Of course, the Russian presentation before us, the beautiful dance presentation, also was invited to the Heaven G Burger. So that was we heard this later, that we were invited by True Mother to the burger, and we already had a burger that day, so let's have a second one. Some people had enough burger already, but that second burger is different. It's more nourishing, because it came from a Mother's invitation. Not only that, actually we were invited to perform a second time. It was a kind of a recognition that on the next evening we performed again, but in a much smaller setting. Because then most of us already were traveling back home, so we had only a small choir, and we did not use a backing track. So Mother was impressed. Also later I got, I and others of us, we got real recognition from all kinds of people. President Song was very excited. Mr. Cho, Mr. Cho is the signature we get behind all our emails. Sometimes you see him on Peace TV. Mr. Cho is actually the acting leader of our world church. He's the acting leader. And then in the past, I visited many leaders' meetings, and then sometimes I even tried to greet Mr. Cho sometimes. And then he kind of greeted back, but that was it. But this time, somebody appeared in front of me at the Heaven G Burger with a very big smile. Mr. Cho. And giving recognition for this piece and for the performance. So anyway, it was not only nice music, but the appearance of the choir was incredible, wasn't it? I think that even that appearance of the choir was already very impressive for our two mother. The picture of it, when you saw the orchestra appeared, and then that's 9 people, and they sat there. They had to wait for the tone from the piano. That took 3 minutes, unfortunately, and then a tone came. And then they were tuning the instruments. And that's a good feeling when some people start tuning. That means concert is starting. There's a concert coming. So, and then the choir appeared. You saw them walking on, and people thought, oh, maybe 10 people, a 10-people choir, like what you call it, barbershop group, like the Apple Heaven. But no, 70 people appeared. The roll kept coming. And I tell you, nobody had expected this performance from Europe. That's the amazing thing. It was really unexpected. And there we came, and everybody sat down correctly in 3 circles around the orchestra. The only thing not perfect was the keyboard. That's fine. So everything looked like really organized, and then Kazuha appears. Very elegantly. The conductor comes. Everybody stand up. The audience looking. What is this? Is this a symphony orchestra? Is this something with Herbert von Karajan? And then the sister coming there. Stand up, make a bow, sit down. Ready for the concert. Was not announced, was not expected by anybody. Just a free ride, free concert like that. And then we played. And of course, many people appreciated the tune of the music. Actually, purely musically speaking, some things didn't go right yet, and that was not because of us. That was because of the lack of communication with the cultural department in Korea. We would have needed a lot more, sound check and all kinds of things. But people appreciate, nevertheless, they got the feeling of it. They got the feeling of the song somehow. And not just that, True Mother herself was sitting in the front of the hall as the performance was going on. So what you hear now, what you hear on the video, is not the same quality as what Mother heard. Mother was in front. We did that on purpose. She heard the live voices, not just through the loudspeakers. She heard the live voices, she heard the live instruments, and she clearly heard the backing track also. So where she was sitting, the sound was pretty good. That's what Dirk van Dorsten, my main Dutch helper, he took care of that. That was his priority, that where Mother was sitting, the sound was best. That was much better than what you hear on the video here. But you saw, some of the microphones didn't work, the soprano, the main melody was not clearly, you could not clearly hear it. The piano was much too loud, that is, this kind of things were happening. Nevertheless, Mother, surely, she heard beautiful music. And of course, different people gave their recognition. In the very end, Sanjanim herself, when we had, that was in the National Leaders meeting, has nothing to do with this. There was a National Leaders Assembly 2 days after that. And then everybody had the opportunity to take picture with Sanjanim and Inzapnim, and then we could shake hands with her. And then when Derek and I came to shake hands, then she absolutely, she remembered the performance, and she really wanted to express her special recognition. She said, "What an amazing performance." Can you imagine? I'm shaking hands with Sanjinin. I can die now. But what an amazing performance. She said, "I heard angel voices." This means the plan worked. They heard like angel voices coming through the loudspeakers. And she said, and an Insubnim, the husband, he said, such an interesting build-up to the climax in the end. You know, he said they listened carefully to how the piece was built up, and they appreciated it. They could get the feeling. So that was my hope. I knew all the deficiencies that could appear, all the imperfections that could appear. I was very scared of the technical side, especially, because you can prepare what you want. If the technique in the end doesn't work, it's finished. You blow it. I'm scarred for life with this issue. I've experienced it so many times. But to Mother and Sanjanim, they got the feeling of the piece. I was so relieved about that. So really, Sanjanim really wanted to take much more time with Derek and me to express her thanks, but she was shaking hands with everybody, so she had to move on to the next person, of course. But of course, I want to see this as this was a success. This is not just a one-time thing, and it's so interesting that this came very unexpectedly. We had so many, it is so improper. We don't have trained singers, first of all. Just a few. You don't just create a choir like that. A choir is the most difficult thing to create. A choir which produces a serene, rich sound, voice sound. I have a terrible voice myself. I cannot sing nicely. To get a voice, you need training. You need not just months. It takes a year until you develop a good voice. It has to grow. We don't have that. We don't have. Okay, we had the Vienna choir, but they were not available. Some of the Gießen choir were available. So thank you so much for that. But also, even our choirs hardly have time to practice and to develop a voice. So that was one concern. How do you bring a big choir presentation when you don't have trained voices? Hardly any one of us who were performing there had trained voices. Also, we really wanted to bring. We didn't want to just bring a choir song with a piano, like simply. We didn't want to do a family evening presentation. Now, I mean, if you saw the performances on the day before, most of them were kind of spontaneous performances. The American performance was, many people on stage. The rhythm gets going, the backing track, and some people get the crowd, on a beat, and then we go singing, and that never fails. It's a kind of simple concept, but it's kind of improvised. Of course, America just had done their Madison Square Garden campaign, which was huge. They had no time to prepare. It's very clear. I'm not judging anything here. But it was the character of most presentations was a bit like improvised. Although some improvisation was very high quality, like the Japanese dancing was very incredible actually. But what we did was not an improvised performance, was not a family evening spontaneous performance. It was not. We were pretending to give a big stage full oratorio, not just a song, but a complete oratorio, like a sequence of songs, with a 70-piece choir and an orchestra. That was our determination. And so we were going to give to True Mother the full, what do you say, the full setup of the full orchestra, choir and orchestra performance. It's kind of pretending to do that. That's how you do it. You pretend first, and then you really do that. With non-trained voices, a non-trained technician like Gerrit van Dorsten, he's completely non-trained, he did all the technical work. A non-trained conductor, or were you trained, Kazuha? I don't know. No. Can you imagine this? Her mother got the idea. In the beginning, when I was in Albania, I don't know if anybody was there, Makoto was there, I wrote on the board, because I was asked to introduce the project, I wrote all kinds of things, and then I wrote conductor, question mark, piano, question mark. Are we going to have a conductor? Are we going to have a piano? It was not sure. In June, it wasn't sure yet. No, we didn't just have a conductor, we had a professional, high-level conductor, Kazuha Canak. Heidi got that idea. I asked Heidi personally first because I really liked her performance with the Gießen choir at the Pentecost. She did a really great job. But Heidi thought, no, I don't want to go now. I want to find an even better solution. So she called her daughter. Kazuha said yes, not knowing what was going to come to her. Because this story isn't finished yet. But even that fact, can you imagine this? That a choir appears, an orchestra appears, a conductor appears, and then they start bringing a completely new presentation, a new musical, what do you call that? Song. I call it a song. It's more than just a song. So that is also very unique. This is completely from ourselves. We didn't hire anybody from outside. We didn't hire a conductor, we didn't hire professional singers, we didn't hire a composer or arranger, and we didn't hire the technical director for the backing track. Because in most of our performance, somebody is hired in for that and is paid, and usually not so cheap. These were completely our own people. And that's what we wanted to show. We can do it ourselves. Of course, we always admire the world outside, and we need to win the world outside. There is no separation with the world outside. We have to get our people from outside, but also we should not underestimate what we have inside already. And that was a very important point for me. Europe has that potential already. It takes some trigger to get it out, and it never happens in a rational, what's the word nowadays? Management thinking only way. Of course, you need management thinking, and there was a lot of management thinking in this project. Kazuha and Derek are excellent in this. They plan everything out, logically, rationally. But basically what we did was a crazy, idiot thing to do. It was an act of faith. So yes, management thinking, but faith is higher than management. Believe me. This was not a success of good management. This was a success of faith. Some people risked their lives here. So never come to me anymore with just management stuff. That's only one part of the matter. That's secondary. The more faith, the more risk you take, the better the management will be. Don't start with the management. Start with faith. Now I'm doing my national leader act. Back to man, this is really something. So what our brothers and sisters have shown with this project, you know, is that has so many lessons for us to learn. You know, okay, let me start with the most extreme situations. It's with Kazuha again. I told you, when Heidi called Kazuha, Kazuha said yes immediately. You know, already when I heard that, Kazuha says yes. You know, something goes through me. You know, that is already. I'm already moved. When a young person says yes, you know, I don't take that for granted, that our young people say yes, just like that. They have hundreds of reasons to say no. So I heard from Heidi, I asked my daughter, and she said yes. Something goes through me. I felt, we're going to succeed now. It's in the bag. So that was, you may not see this kind of things, but that kind of formula, when these things they work, success is coming. Success is around the corner. Success comes from internal things, not from music, not from, you know. Because Kazuha had no idea what she had herself get into. And I tell you, let me try to explain to you what was going on here. Anyway, you know, let me go back in history. Now we're back, there's many episodes leading to this. The whole thing lasts 5 months. It's not so long actually, but also not so short. And then at a certain point in that, we had that national leaders meeting in Albania. Makoto was there. Then I introduced the project. I said, we are going to sing now to parents, and we're going to have an orchestra. We're going to have an orchestra. But I said that, you can say anything, you know, but I thought, but orchestra means we will have 5 second gens, and we're going to try, maybe, to put some arrangement together with 5 very enthusiastic second gens, and that's the orchestra. Then Peter Staudinger calls me. That same Albania meeting. You heard this story before, actually. And then he said it has been arranged that in Prague, there is a way that the Prague Philharmonic Orchestra, they have a system of playing people's arrangements. So in 2 weeks' time, actually 13 days' time, they have a free day. You can come and bring your orchestra arrangement there. Well, that was not exactly what I had in mind. You know. But imagine that situation. Peter Staudinger also thinking along. And when I say, you know, casually, we have a choir and an orchestra, which I meant something like that. Peter Staudinger says, oh, orchestra. And he called to Eva in Prague, our sister who is part of an orchestra, and it was arranged that, you know, 2 weeks later there has to be an orchestra arrangement. So that was already amazing. Of course, I made arrangement for small ensembles, and I don't have real musical education. This is the point. But I have some, of course, experience in our own movement. God is, in a way, my teacher, you know, in our church. And for the small ensembles, but not for a symphony orchestra, not for, anyway, a string orchestra. Of course, string orchestra is not a full orchestra. So that was the first thing. We made this recording in Prague. And that sounded quite interesting by itself. But make no mistake, the fact that you have a backing track now with an orchestra on it doesn't mean it harmonizes with singing. Actually, when we practiced in Camberg, I remember, the choir was singing one thing and the orchestra is playing another thing. And the tempo of the orchestra was not stable, and that was also because of myself. I could not indicate, because I had no time, I could not indicate the right speed to them. And then I always said, no, this is too fast, should be slower, no, should be a little faster. They got confused, and as a result, the speed of the orchestra playing on the track is unstable. It goes sometimes faster, it goes slower sometimes. That's the worst thing that can happen. So the backing track, which is a good idea, now we have imagine we have an orchestra accompaniment for our choir now. There's the backing. We made it ourselves. But it became like an obsession, became like a nightmare, you know. Now we are bound by this backing track. How is the choir going to practice with an orchestra that changes speed all the time? Can you follow me? I'm talking music now. But that's terrible. So this was solved in two ways. First of all, Dirk van Dorsten, with technical instruments, tried to shorten the bars. Now it's possible with modern technology. You can actually change the speed of a recorder. So he spent incredible time on that. And that helped us halfway, not completely. Because you cannot change the tempo within the bar, only as a bar you can change it. Now, so still we were having an unstable backing track, and still if the choir practices, like I remember when was it, we did some singing with the Treasures of Heaven workshop, some of you were there, and then I noticed again, you know, this backing track is going all over the place. Going his own way. So this was very serious for me. And then when Kazuha had the task to combine the singing of the choir, which has a certain volume, with the changing tempo of the backing track. Can you imagine that? You try to hire any conductor, any director, and tell him this situation. Would you like to do that for us? Would you like to follow this backing track? Nobody would accept that. And it's a very, very tricky thing. That means at the time of the performance, everything depends on the conductor. The conductor has to hear maybe with this kind of so-called in-ear monitor, but forget about it, you don't hear anything. Did you hear something, Kazuha? A smidget you heard. You get a so-called in-ear monitor, so you hear the backing track. And there's the choir, and there's the orchestra, the live orchestra. There were 9 people playing live. And there's this terrible backing track, this nightmare, this monster backing track. And if you listen carefully, you will notice that at the beginning the tempo suddenly goes faster, and then goes slower again. And actually what happened in reality is that the backing track had gone ahead, Kazuha heard that, let the choir sing faster, and then it goes slower again. And nobody noticed anything. Nobody noticed anything. But can you imagine what she did? The nightmare which I had 5 months before of that critical moment, how it would all fit together, you know. She resolved it. This is something no conductor in history, as far as I can remember, has ever achieved. So what you saw on the picture is the orchestra appearing, the choir appearing, conductor appearing, everybody standing up, sitting down, and then Kazuha elegantly conducting, big smile on her face, and the choir members all responding with their smile. Because they didn't know what Kazuha was going through at that moment. So the formula is, when you are on the brink of death, because that's what she was, she could be killed any moment, smile. Smile and look good, and everybody else smiles. And that's how, but, because Kazuha, how did you feel at that moment?
Very nervous.
Very nervous. Did you see that on stage? I didn't see that. She was, that was the decisive moment. I couldn't do anything anymore, Dad couldn't do anymore. We'd been very active till then, doing this, doing that, doing that. That moment, I was just sitting there, couldn't do anything behind this stupid keyboard. And everything depends on her. And it succeeded. Not only once, but every time again. She had to, oh, the orchestra's going there, the choir's here. Had to keep, and smiling, and singing like that. And the result is, to Mother heard a good choir and orchestra performance, and was impressed by the performance, as we heard. So please give one more hand to Kazuha. There isn't, you know, the condition was, as Europe, this was not just a musical performance, as Europe, we wanted to give our praise to Mother. We wanted to show our gratitude to Mother. And this was a European condition. We symbolized all of Europe. The whole European movement was behind us somehow, even though also many did not really know what was happening. Few were behind us, many Europeans were behind it. We were embodying everybody's desire to give comfort and joy to our Mother, because that's what you all want. But to do that, very difficult to do. Again, I said we wanted to present more than just a family evening performance. But there was a lot of obstacles to do that. So what I'm saying is, you know, the great word, the most important word that to Mother is using, you know what it is? Hyojong. The heart of filial piety. That's what this age is all about. That's the difference between life and death. It's the heart of Hyojong. You know what the official word of the Cheong Pyoeng territory is Hyojong Chanwon, right? The heavenly garden of filial piety. That's the official title or the official name of the Cheong Pyoeng territory. You say, I go to Cheong Pyoeng. No, Cheong Pyoeng is a town. You go to the Hyojong Chanwon near Cheong Pyoeng. That's where you go to. The heavenly garden of filial piety. So success or failure depends on Hyojong. And we all want to give Hyojong to our true Mother. That is our desire. Everybody has that in our heart. And when we were as a choir and orchestra, we wanted to present that heart of everybody, representing the European movement to true Mother. And it was, again, it was not easy. You know what the word attendance, what that means? It means you give more than is asked from you. You have to think, what does God want? What does Heavenly Parent want? And you do that even when it's not asked to you. That's attendance. Attendance is something completely, is a higher level than just obedience. Of course, if there is no obedience, there cannot be attendance. But so what we wanted to do was an act of attendance. And we realized this project was an act of attendance, because we were not asked to do a big concert, big stage type performance. We were not asked to do that. We were asked to do a spontaneous family performance, we realize now. Because whenever we try to do more than that, all kinds of obstacles appear. You know, maybe you heard something. Like, actually, the performance was supposed to last 16 minutes. It was already a made composition, was 16 minutes. But we had to cut it down to 10, and with great pain it came 12 minutes. But imagine, the whole piece was already constructed. One thing depends on the other, follows on the other, and we had to decide, what are we going to cut now? Like, for instance, this canon we had to cut, and the main melody of the hymn we had to cut. Just to show you that it was not easy to bring our offering. The question is it accepted? Like, not by the Korean Cultural Department, and I don't blame them. They have their needs and their priorities. I understand that. There's time considerations and everything. Another thing was that, as you remember, the date was changed from 7th of September to 8th September. Looking back, I'm very happy. This stage was much better, much more intimate, much more easy to manage than the Peace World Center. But the disadvantage was, you imagine this, that a number of people who had applied in the choir, they couldn't change their flight ticket. They couldn't perform. So several choir members, they came very sad and said, I cannot perform now because the date was moved. Of course, we have to be wise, and then I know this. We better plan a few days ahead. But that was kind of sad, and there were many obstacles on the way. Not only coming from somewhere, but actually from above. It's a little bit like. Still, we know God wants that orchestra performance. And I had sent several times, I had sent the whole concept, what kind of piece it was, and I had sent it to the cultural committee, but never a response came. There was no response coming. Still, we know Heavenly Parent wants this, and True Mother wants this, even though it looks like not. Because you know how it is in our movement. You're asked to do the perfect thing. You're asked to do absolutely perfect thing. But when you try to get there, it's kind of blocked. You're not supposed to do that. There was some other, at a certain moment we were told that we would only have very limited space, like only 12 meters broad and 4 meters in the back. That means there would almost be no space for our choir and orchestra, this kind of things. And we asked desperately, maybe I shouldn't be telling these things now, but give us we need a long dress rehearsal, because there's many things to talk about with the sound manager. We need to discuss many things in detail. We only had half an hour on that same day in the morning. That's not enough. So that's why all the imperfections you see there, they are because we could not really finalize everything with the authorities, with the stage crew. We only met the stage crew on the day itself. We had no contact until then. Can you imagine this? Such a big project, so many details, and you only have half an hour to work it out. Yeah, that's why some imperfections are bound to appear. The most tragic thing was when the grand piano was tuned too high. I don't know why that was. So, and we found that out in the last day, or the last few days. We couldn't ask for a retuning, so we had to get a keyboard from somewhere. And then we found something, the reserve, the second keyboard of the Apple having. I'm very grateful they had something, but it had a terrible sound, and we couldn't put it on the proper sound, and it was put too loud. And I said the microphones didn't work. So all those imperfections were because we couldn't do the right preparations. We tried, but there was no way. Had that not happened, the performance would have been even much better. You know? And but why I'm saying this, there must be some reason. I don't blame anybody. I don't blame the cultural committee for this. They're so busy and things. Although one sister told me, had this come from America or Korea, they would have helped a little bit. But I don't know about that. I don't know about that. It was kind of totally not expected that we were going to bring this offering. And does it mean God doesn't want this offering? No. Heavenly Parent was very happy with what we did. And from the reactions afterwards, you could see everybody was so happy, also from the authorities. But we had to have this mind to not just accept that, like it's from cultural headquarters came, just give a family evening performance. We're fine with that. Don't worry too much. Your offering is like that. No. That's not that was not the deal. And we were going to do this properly, and in that sense, like Derek and Kazuha have been great help for me because they are very proactive. So they would, and they are very, they will protect this case. So that's we made this letter to the authorities. We wrote to them. We wrote to all the leaders just before the case, explaining the situation. But the problem was that Jack Corley, who is the great supporter and initiator of this project, actually the owner of this project, he's not anymore the leader of Europe. He's now the leader of Russia. So also he could not step out of his position, whereas Michael Belcom is just coming in. He doesn't even know. The last thing that would interest him is a choir project for me. He has other things on his mind. So when we wrote to him saying, Michael, you are the owner now, and basically he said, don't worry, others have had the same challenges, just deal with it. That was basically his answer. But I understand that. It's okay, and I understand others have had the same challenges maybe. Like David Eaton will have the same challenges, and others will have the same challenges. So, let me wrap everything up now. The good thing was, the success is that the heart of brothers and sisters to want to do this. That was special about this project from the beginning. Actually, choir project is heavy. It's very boring. You have to sit there, learn your part, and if you don't sing it well, you're asked to sit in the back. It's pretty tough, you know. So I remember the long prayer, every time the same thing. The tenor's this, and now the bass again, and then the alto again, and then they sing this and that. It's really tough, and it's really working with the structure. But because the participants really had a desire to do this from themselves, they accepted this. And it is, yeah, right. Here, Matthew Hewish, he's a UK national leader, and Hannu Hassanen, the Finnish national leader. They were asked to come to other meetings. They were there as national leaders, but they preferred to play the orchestra. But also this orchestra is quite amazing. You know what is interesting about this orchestra is how could Benjamin Laida, the brother, that's Taka, this Benjamin, how could he already get that chemistry between the musicians that he could just call them to Korea and they come? Because to come to Korea is a big decision. So that's a very positive thing, that already there is something existing of instrumentalists who feel a duty towards each other, and then when they get called to Korea, which costs money and everything, and time, they come. So there was an orchestra. That's the other thing. I wasn't sure if we were still going to have a live orchestra in the end. That when they came, the written arrangement for them was not yet finished. Kazuha was still transcribing it. I'm telling you, everything was last minute. We had no break, no time to breathe. We were still writing arrangements and transcribing arrangements till the last day. The piece did not exist till just a few days before the performance. The piece was not ready. So that's a miracle, isn't it? This came from, we had to create this entirely, every note. Every person had to be called from our own resources. I don't think that has happened before. And everything was based on our own material. This we wanted to show to True Mother. We can do that. If there's no orchestra and choir in the world that will announce you, will proclaim you, then we will do it ourselves, and we will do it in the best possible way. We will become the best in the end. Now, this was not yet the best, but was I mean, I'm realistic, don't worry. But it was a miracle that we could do this together. Non-singers, a non-conductor, a non-technician, and a non-composer can produce this together. So, but again, the heart to want to dedicate. Like even you were not in Korea, like many of you, you did not come to Korea, or you could not come to Korea, or whatever, but you helped here to build it up. That has helped tremendously. The practices in Camberg and Duesseldorf, they were very important to make it. Every step was very important for the final success. We couldn't have missed one of them. So Tanaka-san and all the others who have been singing here in Düsseldorf and in Camberg, thank you very much for that. And so people were willing to unite. I want to mention. So that's the last point I mentioned now. We like to talk foundation of faith, foundation of substance. Foundation of faith in our case means we had to risk everything. It was again, I tell you, it was an act of faith first. It was my own act of faith. It was Kazuha's act of faith. It was Derek's act of faith. It was everybody's act of faith. Heidi's act of faith. We risked a lot.
No, I knew it would be great. I knew it would be great.
Yeah, you knew it. Yes, sure.
I knew it.
Yeah, I mean, I did feel some kind of. I felt support from the spiritual world. I tell you that. I could feel something, not all the time. In the beginning, very much, but later, less. In the end, nothing. But that's the time when I didn't do the work anymore, but Derek and Kazuha did most of the work. I was off. I was failing. But in the beginning, that I remember that kind of electricity that's coming, that you can feel. This is really what God wants. What Heavenly Father wants is not just something that comes very from in a very official way. Maybe God wants music in Europe. We don't know. I don't know. Maybe usually, if you look in history, successes or breaks come in a very unexpected way, not through the official lines. And this is something that came completely from the members themselves, their desire to sing for True Mother. That's why they accepted everything, especially, as I said, risk everything. Imagine it had gone wrong at that critical moment, then what would that have been for True Mother? It would have been interpreted as it was not prepared well. No good preparation. And secondly, you have to unite and accept everything. And this was, I tell you, about this uniting thing. Because of all kinds of circumstances, I had to continuously change the arrangement. It has been completely changing. Till the last day, or till the second last day, the arrangement was being changed, so new things were to be added. Now imagine this. That means somebody has got to transcribe that arrangement first. And the choir, which has learned one thing, in the last few days has to learn a different thing. It kept changing all the time. There is no logic in it. But I had to change it because we were told we had to cut till 12 minutes. I had to change the musical arrangement of the voices as well. And but because they are willing every time and this, to unite with the changing situation, which is totally unreasonable and very risky, it worked out. So people united. Also, the Korean staff, which was led by our sister Jonghae, she's actually leading the youth department in Europe. And their mission was to serve and support us in every way. So they had to accept any command that was given by me, but often through Kazuha or Derek. And the sister had to be on her toes all the time. And the car had to be ready. She had to drive us to different places. Arrangements had to be quickly printed. She had to buy food or materials, had to provide a sleeping place for us somewhere when one sleeping place didn't work anymore, had to quickly find another. She was continuously, this is what our young people can do. They work with their smartphone. And you have a question, they solve it on the button, just like that. Kazuha, you're like that too. I'm thinking, I have some problem with it, that I'm thinking this, solved. I hadn't even explained the problem yet. So I don't need to learn this now myself, because already the other people are so good at this, But that kind of cooperation, also this was really a good example, I told you, of cooperation between first and second generation. Second generation united with crazy, stupid instruction from first generation. And the result was success! 100% success. But why do we ask things that to our children that are impossible to fulfill? Not because we want to give you a hard time or because that's what we learn. No, because of sheer necessity. We have to do that. And the same thing happened this time. You can say we did this by free will, this offering, but actually, deeply think God, Heavenly Parent, needed this condition. Heavenly Parent needed this from Europe. And we passed that on. And all those young people, they united with this. And they did very, very awkward things they had to do. Another example, Albanian brothers and sisters, most of them are not trained singers at all. So often we had to ask them, please sing softer or don't sing at all. They did that. But they look so great on stage and you don't notice that they are not singing so loud. Actually, maybe they were singing loud, I don't know. Maybe some of them cheated anyway. Nobody notices that some of them have been told, and I tell you, when Derek or Kazuha, when they tell you something, they make their point. Oh. They tell you, don't sing. But that's what they were hired for, to sing, But then they're told, don't sing now. But did you notice they had trouble not singing? No, they sang. So that's what I mean. They united. There was unity this time, and the result was this was an appearance of not only a musical performance. This was a demonstration of unity and harmony that happened in front of True Mother's eyes. I don't know what True Mother thought about it, but President Song said, I mean that's somebody. I didn't know Europe could produce that. Yeah. So I don't take the honor for this. my task was the potential that is in our European movement and in our European brothers and sisters. I have to, with my musical ability, I have to trigger that. And it needs a channel to be expressed. So this nobody can deny. And some people were shocked at the performance. But this offering stands as it is. We don't know what is going to happen now, after this. I hope in some way the music will continue, and whether you are singing in the choir or you do your own missions, everybody can be connected to this kind of problems. I'm very grateful to my brothers and sisters in the Netherlands, for instance, also those who could not participate in the choir, but have been really praying, and their heart was really desiring for this to be successful. That means they are connected. And everybody is connected. And so thank you also. This was really very much a Holland and Germany led initiative. We did this as Germany and Holland together. And within Germany, very much Duesseldorf's part was very big. So I feel very, very grateful to you for sharing in this project. And yeah, with this I want to conclude. Thanks a lot, and let's see how this carries on. Maybe we shouldn't stop here. Thank you.
Kasa, du hast noch Bilder gebracht, ne? Und vielleicht möchtest du noch ein paar Worte dazu sagen.
Can we hear the song again?
Maybe after, or you want to hear the song now? Stefan has
Thank you very much, Hans. Is it okay if I continue in English? Okay, thank you. I actually feel a little more comfortable speaking English as well. I was told to share for 5 minutes. I don't think I can keep it that short because there's so much to share. I will try my best to keep it short. I wanted to make 3 points, and the first one continues on what Hans was saying, that it was amazing how we could bring such results under such difficult circumstances, and that was because people were able or willing to unite. I've been living, in the U.S. for the last 7 years, and I've been working for the last 3 years in a graphic design agency, so kind of very secular. Working with my coworkers and my boss and our clients, and very professional environment, and there is cooperation happening as well in that environment. So I feel like I'm used to this. But when I came to Cheong Pyoeng, and I didn't expect any of this really to happen. But when I arrived and I slowly met the choir and Hans and Derek and the staff and sort of saw everyone's sort of willingness to really put everything out there and try to work together, I was amazed every time I spoke to a person, like, wow, we are able to have an intellectual but also a artistic conversation, like sort of combining both. It wasn't just artistic, like, oh, I really want to do something but I don't know how, and it wasn't only intellectual either, like, oh, this is the right way, we need to do it this way, and I don't really care personally about this project. It was both together, and I wasn't used to that. It really, every time I had a conversation with a person, I was surprised, like, wow, this was a really deep but intellectually stimulating conversation, and so I was sort of very surprised by being able to have that, and actually just to give you sort of a little insight from my perspective. When I arrived, actually, I thought the most difficult part was over. Hans and Derek already cut the song down to 12 minutes, which I thought was probably the most challenging part of this project. So I thought, well, from now on it's going to be easy. I just have to, be able to hear this, and so I'll just kind of visually indicate what's happening in my ear, and everyone's going to follow me. But yeah, it was actually quite difficult. When we arrived, half the choir, was still missing. It was just the Top Gun people who were there. But then also we were actually only able to practice maybe 3 or 4 hours a day, and then the rest of the day, the Top Gun people were practicing for the musical that was happening on the Blessing. So I mean, everybody was focused on the 7th of September to get that performance right. Ours was on the 8th, and so sort of their attention was split too, and they were tired. They were dancing and singing and waiting around a lot, and then we're asking them to really focus those 3 hours in the morning when it's the hardest to sing, and so I was like, in my mind it was like, all right, we'll just do our best, and we'll just try. We'll hope it will work out. And I was kind of in the beginning very sort of relaxed about it, like, well, it will just go however it turns out. But then Derek arrived a few days later, and he came with a very strong mission and purpose, and right away, we didn't know at the time if True Mother was going to be there, but we want to play for True Parents, and with having that goal, it needs to be perfect, because it's True Parents we're playing for. We can't just offer anything. It needs to be good. It needs to be quality. And when he sort of set that expectation, I sort of woke up. I was like, well, we'll never get there at the speed that we're working at. So we were trying to push for more practice time and more focus and more. We asked everyone to give more and more and more, and as I mentioned, I am coming from a very professional environment, and if you do that, people get angry at you if you do that. And it was amazing every time to see that people were always happy to give more, and sort of and apologizing for not being able to give even more than what they're doing, and yeah, there was. So I'm very grateful personally for also Derek, who set the bar so high, because I felt like I had a goal that I could unite with. I think also without him, I probably would have just kind of sort of done whatever. So for me, it was very helpful. Okay, my second point I wanted to make is one story where I felt like I could have made a very big mistake, and I'm glad I didn't. When we realized that we will never be able to make this quality performance if we continue this way. When we realized that people weren't able to replicate the tone that they were hearing, we would ask them to sing, and then they would sing, and we'd, and they'd try really hard, and then it was like, we can't make a quality performance with people who can't even sing one note, and we're trying to do a 12-minute performance, and so we're very, very concerned, and we're, well, what is more important? Is it the quantity of people, the appearance on stage, this big group of Europe coming, or is it the quality of performance, that it's a clean sound because we're playing for True Parents? I mean, both is important, but it seems like we need to sacrifice one. So, I mean, Hans never wanted to sacrifice anyone, so he was very trying to protect everyone, and Derek and I were like, we have to tell people to leave. And I think during our discussion, I think Hans was outnumbered, and Derek and I were kind of like, I mean, we don't like doing that, but we felt like it was necessary. So we decided, okay, tomorrow is the 4th. We have 3 more days to practice, 4th, 5th, and 6th. The 4th, we need to know who is singing in the choir and who's not. And so we need to tell people that, I'm sorry, but for the greater good, it's better if you don't sing. And I mean, we talked so much. I mean, in the evening before and the days before and on the day, how do we say this without hurting people's hearts? And without still really valuing their contribution to the choir, and really letting them know that we really are grateful that they're there. But for the performance, it would be the best thing that they could do to not sing. Anyway, so that was the plan, and then the sort of we plan. Okay, so we go in there, practice 8:30 in the morning. We will already kind of pull these people aside before we even start, so that kind of like on the side, it's not going to be a big deal. Sort of just personally, we'll talk to them. And then before we went in, Hans was like, "How about we do this after warm up?" And we're like, "Oh yeah. Not now, let's do it after warm-up." we didn't want to do it. So, okay, let's warm up first. So we're warming up. And then Miyahoko Kutsu, she came to us. She was leading the alto group. And she already knew what we were up to. And so she kind of pulled us aside, Derek, and I came later. And she told Derek, like, don't send people away. Like, last night, because we were already kind of preparing, everyone needs to know their part the day before. So last night, I saw members already crying in the prayer hall, really like having a very tough time, like sort of uniting with this direction that was, the choir needs to be perfect. Our brothers and sisters are very sad, and they've come to they've prepared so much, with this heart of wanting to offer. And they're afraid that they're being let go. And my first reaction was like, no, but this is the plan. Like, we decided as a group, we're gonna do it. But Derek was, I didn't say anything, I was just thinking that. But Derek was, you're right, we can't send them away. And Mihoko suggested, how about you just tell them to, like, mime, like they can stay in the choir but not sing. That's she was the one who came up with that idea, and Derek was like, yes, let's do it. And Hans was very happy that we were finally on board with keeping everyone there. And so I learned that that as leaders, it is our number one responsibility to take care of everyone's heart. That it's not about, it is about the result too, but it's not only about the result, it's about the people that are involved, and that you can't leave anyone behind. Everyone's family. And sometimes I wonder, like, how do organizations work if, this is a professional environment and results matter, so you can treat everyone like family. But I feel like this scenario has shown that it is possible to do both, to bring results, but to also make sure that no one gets hurt in the way. And you can't just fire a family member for not being, a good person, or for not doing what you need them to do or want them to do. So that was one lesson that I'm grateful I learned just in time before making any mistakes. And then I was asked to share a little bit about our last performance, the one in the Heavenly Palace. So after the big performance. So we only have a few pictures. We don't really have like the official ones. But we've done the performance on the 7th, the 8th, the big performance. Everyone was happy, we were celebrating, we were finally over. We're not sure if Tremother was happy because, she's very, reserved. Like, we try to look at her, but we're not sure if she liked it or not. But at least when we ended, like half or even more than almost the entire crowd was giving us a standing ovation, which was very unexpected, and so it definitely meant something to many people. Later, and so that was already good. We're not sure if True Mother liked it or not, but anyways, we're celebrating, and then we finally hear True Mother wants to thank us by inviting us to Heaven G Burger. So So that was like a sign, yes, she liked it. And that's, after that we felt, okay, we've done what we came for. We were able to sort of honor her and make her happy. So that was sort of like afternoon of the 8th. And then, people are kind of leaving, saying goodbye, it was really great working with you, and Hans, Derek, and I were still sitting in Heaven G Burger for the second time that day. And then kind of we're just, relaxing, trying to talk about what we've just experienced, and then sort of I hear in the background a daughter talking to her mom, Melanie Komagata, who's playing the flute, coming to her mom, who was singing soprano 1. I just heard the orchestra was invited to play again tomorrow. And I turned back, I was like, what? We were invited to play for the Heavenly Palace, at the Heavenly Palace. Tomorrow's going to be there, and it's the ACLC banquet. The cultural team wants the orchestra to play. And I immediately think of Taka, because he's in the orchestra, he won't be able to play because our tickets we have to leave tomorrow morning early, we won't be there. So I have this news, yet I know that it probably won't be possible that we're there, that Taka could go. And then I tell her, Taka's not going to be able to come because our tickets, and then she was, I don't know, maybe we can change it, I'm not sure. And then she was like, you should come too. We need a conductor. This is the first time I was told that I'm like we need a conductor. Kazuha. It's like I've never been the conductor. And so okay, all right, I'll try to change my ticket too. I'm not sure if I can. And then that night, actually that whole day, Taka, Selena, and I were supposed to come together. So if Taka and I could change the ticket, we'd have to change Selena's ticket too, because we have to travel together. So we go back to Cheong Pyoeng, and everyone's still very excited about. I don't think even Hans at that point. No, you knew something. Like we were there together, and orchestra weren't sure that included everyone, and what are they expecting. So we're all sort of like not sure if we're playing tomorrow or not. And so we go back to Cheong Pyoeng and we meet Jack Corley, who's still very happy about our victories and talking to his was it Russia or friends, other like national leaders. And then we arrive and he's like, oh come, here these are the people who've done it, and I sort of feel bad because he's very happy, and I'm like about to tell him, well, we were just invited again, and I'm not sure if we can be there, and he's like, that's amazing, they invite you again, Jamal wants to hear you again. Of course we can change the tickets, go talk to Peter Staudinger. And then Peter Staudinger comes and doesn't know what's going on, and he's like, here, these people, they need to change the tickets, can you please help them? And he's like, okay, and he goes talks to Klaus Dubitsch, and then so that seems to be very easy. So okay, Taka and I will be there tomorrow, and Selena as well. But we still don't know what we're playing. We just orchestra, and we tell Hans, we're playing again. It's like, yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe just the orchestra.
I still take things literally. When I hear the orchestra is invited, I don't hear the choir is invited.
Yeah.
That's my education.
Yeah, no one really
But
knew.
they thought further than that.
And Taka didn't know either that he was going to play. I already told him, we need to change our tickets. We were invited to play tomorrow. Can you stay longer? And he agreed. And then so we thought we were done, but it was another that evening. The whole planning started again. We felt it was a very sort of providential, important sort of time, and that what we were offering had some value, and that we didn't want to mess it up, and so we were very serious about this invitation. What does it mean? The orchestra already formed a little messaging group on Facebook, talking back and forth. Which piece are we going to play? Oh, I really like this piece. Let's play that piece. but we kind of felt like they were kind of running off doing their own thing. But if the orchestra invited, it doesn't, like, we were trying to understand, like, what does it mean when the orchestra is being invited? If they care, if the cultural team cares about a classical performance, they could invite any professional orchestra who could play 10 times better than us. Why are we being invited? It's because of the piece that we performed. That we were praising and honoring to parents. That was special. If we come tomorrow and just play any piece, like, we would kind of say, we would kind of discredit ourselves, like all the work that we put in. So we sort of, like, as a team, Hans, Dirk, and I kind of came eventually, after many, like, discussions and thoughts, came to the conclusion that's what we need to perform. We need to play the piece again, and we will play the piece that was cut out. This is our time to redeem ourselves and put the canon back in. So we had made the decision, and we can't play the piece without the choir, because that's, you know, they're singing, so you need to hear the lyrics. So it's not the orchestra anymore, it's everyone again. We kind of made that decision on our own, but we wanted to double check, is that really what you wanted? So the next morning, in early 7 o'clock during breakfast, we tried to go to Jung Hae again, who is in contact with the culture team, and also Peter Staudinger. This is our plan. Is this what they were envisioning? And the response is, we want to hear new songs. We don't want to hear the same song again. So after all this preparation and trying to, like, really, you know, understand the meaning of this invitation, we're told that no, it's actually, we just want to hear any song. It sounds like that's what they're asking for. And also Peter Staudinger was like, you know, it's best if we offer a quality performance, not just any kind, but it needs to be good. So if you can't get the singers, it's better just to play with the orchestra. And so it shrank again. You know, we were trying to build this up, and then we're being told, actually, you know, it's just better to come with a small group. And so this is happening over the entire day, like, again and again, with, oh, let's play, you know, we'll play this and this song. Actually, you only have 5 minutes to perform. You know? Okay, and then how do we cut again? And then I felt like we're in the same situation again, like from a few months ago. We were told that we can't perform 16 minutes. We had to cut it to 10, eventually 12 minutes. Then after the performance, people came to apologize that they didn't understand the piece, and that it is impossible to cut such a piece. And so they were very sorry that they had given such direction. But now we find ourselves in the same situation. We're being asked to cut it again. And I felt like sort of this is our chance to redeem ourselves. And it was very difficult because we feel like the Koreans, we need to follow the Koreans. Like, the Koreans are the ones that give us direction, and it is our job to follow and unite. But at the same time, it felt like, no, us Europeans need to learn to push back and to be sure of what we want to present, because no one's asking us. We're coming with these suggestions. We're offering more than we're being asked for, and so it is kind of our job to you know, kind of fight for ourselves, and so in the end, we kind of did sort of a combination. We presented something new, but we also presented sort of half of the cantata, like the last piece that included the canon. So that was a really long process. We thought that we were going to perform at 6. That's what they said. The performance is going to be at the palace at 6 o'clock. So we thought, okay, we have pretty much the whole day to practice, to get all the people together. But we couldn't practice because all morning long we were trying to decide what are we going to play. And then based on what we can play, then we'll ask the people to join us and practice. And then so by probably 11 o'clock in the morning, we finally had made our decision, sort of, and then started practicing. And then, like, right before lunch, we were being told, oh, actually the performance should be at 5. So we need to be there an hour early. And then after lunch, we were told, actually the performance should be at 4, so we need to leave now. And So everything was very tight. Like there's no time to fool around. We had to get dressed during lunch. Like people wanted to practice other things, and we had to tell them, no, you have to practice this song right now. And so we finally made it there super early to the palace. We got there, and no one was there. So I mean, they were kind of setting up their thing, but there's no event, nothing. So okay, we'll do our sound check. And say, oh, we only have 10 minutes for sound check. But it's like no one's there, and we're being rushed through sound check again. And then okay, it's over. Go back and hide in this back room. I mean, it was a very nice room, but just somewhere else. And then we're just waiting there until 7 p.m. So it got pushed back later and later. So this is the picture where we were just like sitting and waiting, and we were offered cake, and we're sitting on the ground eating cake. People were using the time to practice more, and we're sleeping, and yeah. So anyway, finally we were told, okay, it's ready. You're the first ones. Oh yeah, by the way, in the morning we were told that we're not on the program. Actually, they cut us. We're not going to perform. That was another challenge. Anyways, we ended up being on the program. We were the first group to perform. We stand outside ready, and everything goes pretty well. Chumother again is sitting front and center, right in front of us, and the whole hall with all the ACLC leaders. And this time I'm singing. I'm actually not conducting. And I'm telling everyone, you need to look back to the back room, because then it looks like you're looking at everyone instead of looking at Chumother or something. But I do sometimes kind of look down to check how Chumother is looking, and much compared to the day before, I think Chumother was wearing sunglasses, so I couldn't see her eyes. But then on the 9th at the Heavenly Palace, she's very, very focused on trying to listen to the piece. I could really feel that she was like in the moment and really like taking the music in and really sort of enjoying it, like very deep concentration. So it was very, very nice and reassuring to see. And yeah, so that was it. I'm sorry, that was way longer than 5 minutes. But thank you very much. Thank you for all your support.
Ja, da gibt es immer so viele Geschichten drumherum, wenn man all das mitkriegt. Man sieht dann eine Aufführung, 12 Minuten, das war's, aber da drumherum ist eine ganze Menge, was passiert. Aber ja, sehr schön einfach zu sehen, dass diese Einheit wirklich eingehalten worden ist, die ganze Zeit. Also das Bedürfnis und die Liebe der Geschwister, die dort waren, war einfach der wahren Mutter alles zu geben, was sie geben konnten. Dass sie glücklich ist und dass die wahre Mutter fühlen konnte, Europa schläft nicht, wir sind da. Und das war auch wirklich der Wunsch von Giaccoli, zu zeigen, wir sind viele und wir lieben dich. Das war die Message eigentlich. Und egal wie viele Schwierigkeiten da jetzt waren, ich glaube, die Nachricht ist angekommen. Ja, erstmal herzlichen Dank. Ich glaube, dass jeder nochmal damit träumen konnte oder den himmlischen Eltern Grüße geben konnte mit der Meditation. Eine Sache wollte ich noch, Hans, du hast gesagt, you said that it was an act of faith to do this, and at the Pentecost meeting in Camberg, when I first met this project, when I heard about this, and I heard the music, and I knew, I said, this was not an act of faith, this was ready a long time ago, this music. And I said, yes, what have we been waiting for so long? This is, from my perspective, this was a music that was there already about 40 years ago, or 38 years ago probably. because I heard, as I always talked with you, why your music that you composed way back in England that time, they were so deep and so soothing God's heart and expressing God's longing for mankind, that when this came out now, it was just yes. That was not a leap of faith for me in that sense. It was, yes, it was ready. We should do everything to make it that True Mother can finally hear this. So I'm very, very happy and very grateful that this could be done this time. One more really big applause. Yeah, I think True Parents anyway, they really know about so many